Layoffs are happening in mass and transformations are becoming the cover story. But we all know that there has to be a more humane way to move through these really complex times. So today we're going to unpack that. Welcome to Brave Proximity, the space where leaders and changemakers finally exhale, tell the truth, and get the validation they rarely receive. This is not a how-to podcast. This is not motivational wallpaper or corporate comfort language. Here, the messy, is it just me? Moments become turning points. I'm Marissa Green.
I'm Susan Page, and we are futurists and practitioners who have spent decades inside turbulence, helping leaders who care deeply navigate culture, crisis, egos, expectations, and everything in between. We've seen the gap between what leaders and changemakers feel and what they're allowed to say. Brave Proximity is a place to close that gap. Each episode starts with the elephant in the room, often disguised as a pet peeve, and we follow it to the deeper truth underneath. We do not just talk about leadership. We get close to what leadership actually feels like.
So if the only thing that changed is who's gone, it wasn't a transformation. So Susan, we have got to get into the layoff conversation. Like, how many of your friends have been laid off this week?
So I think about this in two ways. How many have been laid? There's like how many news stories have seeded that layoffs are coming?
Yeah.
So prepare for that.
Yeah.
How many layoffs have actually happened, and then how many people have announced on LinkedIn that they're laid off? That number is triple digits in some weeks. Very unfortunate. Again, not making fun of this, but there is so much happening around people being put out of jobs, and it's being mislabeled as transformation. And that is the elephant on the table.
Yes.
Stop calling layoffs a transformation.
No, because it's not transformation.
It's not transformation. And, you know, this has been happening for a really long time.
Yeah.
I frankly, and I know you have so many stories about this, I frankly have a little bit of a pet peeve around calling it transformation, because I believe that in the world of an organizational success, aren't we constantly?
Constantly.
We're just doing it. We're doing the work. We're trying to be better. We're trying to achieve revenue. But now it has to be a transformation. With, I think that in itself, we're going to have to think of a new word, because that is a dirty
It's a dirty word.
now.
People start hearing transformation and all of a sudden it's like a cat when its haunches go up. People are walking around the hallways. Transformation? What who's getting laid off? Like,
that's what it is.
It is ridiculous. And I think what's really sad too is when organizations don't recognize and realize when the story has been told and it is done. It's dead.
Done.
It's time to move on from the transformation story, because now all transformation is doing is signaling to someone, and even change management.
Yes.
We can also say that. Like, if all of a sudden you get into a project and like the change manager of the company is in the room, people start afterwards, the water cooler is like, somebody's getting laid off. Is it your team? Do you have your resume ready? Like, that is what happens. It just sparks this fear.
It's the fight or flight. Like, we're like Pavlov's dogs. Like, oh my God, who's got a good resume writer?
And then what happens is nobody gets any work done.
Yes.
And the transformation ends up failing. But let's actually get into this idea of why are organizations starting to try to name layoffs something different?
Yeah.
Like, why is that happening? And I come from a long history of communications, and we would always say that comms is the tail that wags the dog.
Yeah.
Whenever there isn't an actual strategy in place, that's when people in organizations go to their communications team and they're like, help me make this a story.
Shouldn't you have been paid more than for your role?
100. I was a strategist. No one knew it.
I think you should change your resume right now. You didn't even know, but you were in charge of the transformation.
I was always the transformation strategist. I actually am that now.
Yes.
But like, it's so funny that I got there through communications, because I spent years and years and years helping organizations figure out how to, quite frankly, spin a org change, or spin a layoff, spin a leader leaving, spin. And I don't discount the idea that we have to be able to effectively communicate these things. We need to find stories to help people find the connection. I think what we're saying, though, is that transformation isn't the story anymore.
Right.
And that the idea of leveraging a story in order to help someone feel better about something that's just hard
Yeah.
is silly.
And
Like,
I want to go back to you and going through this because I remember you and I working together and
mhm.
talking to you about it. And you have such a good bullshit meter that a lot of times you
Okay.
were like, that that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
That is not the
Yeah.
we are dealing with humans. And so
Humans.
I want you to talk a little bit about that because when leaders have to deal with human stuff,
Oh, yeah.
oh God,
Oh, yeah. No, they'd much
look
rather
out.
call it a transformation and
Yes.
pretend there's a business strategy behind
Yes.
it, which is what's happening because they don't want to do the humane thing. And the humane thing in a layoff, and we have been part of
We've
really
been part of
humane
very humane
layoffs
layoffs.
where the truth of it is actually spoken. And
Yes.
you're telling people what the real business decision was
Yep.
behind it, what the real strategy was behind it. And that to me is the humane way to connect
Yes.
with people in a layoff. You also don't send them an email and tell them not to come to the office tomorrow and expect a phone call that
Right.
they then have to wait 12 hours for. They had no idea it was coming.
My
No.
key card stops working. I don't know.
Exactly. Are
Yeah.
you trying
My
to get in the
computer's
business and like you
locked.
can't? There are absolutely humane ways to communicate about a layoff. Now, I think the other like elephant in the room around it though is that not all layoffs are done with a real business strategy behind them.
Accurate.
And there are times when leaders, maybe they have to meet a bottom line, maybe the results
Yes.
just haven't been there. It is urgent, right? How
Yeah.
many times have we been put in a situation, whether it's for client work or inside an organization, where it's like, okay, guys, we got to lay X number of people off. We need to do it in 2 weeks, and we have to figure out how to call it a transformation. Like we
Yeah.
did a strategy behind it.
Yes.
It's like all of a sudden we're scrambling.
And I think sometimes you might have a big consultancy that told you, here's what you need to do.
Uh-huh.
And you're working towards targets, which is fine, but the strategy still has to be there. It cannot
Yes.
just be a revenue target. And then that is, oh, the easiest way we're going to get the revenue target is buy to X amount of people.
Exactly. And this
Yeah.
is where people think that story becomes strategy.
Yes.
And I think you can craft a story to make it sound good enough. But what some organizations and leaders don't understand is that people see right through bullshit stories.
Yeah.
And so then the fear and the uncertainty in your organization increases, not only for the people who are being laid off, but for the people who get left behind.
Yes.
Because
survivor's guilt. Too.
survivor's guilt, and all of a sudden the stories you tell are no longer trustworthy.
Yes.
Because people don't know if it's a story, they don't know if it's a strategy, they're uncertain about their jobs already because someone else got laid off.
Yeah.
And so that survivor's guilt also turns into just basic general anxiety around whether they're going to have a job or not because they can't trust what's coming from leadership anymore.
I know it's a broader impact, I think is what you're saying is if you start with a misleading story, you're perpetuating that narrative that I'm sure gets muddier, gets more diluted as you go forward, and then it erodes future trust.
Yes, exactly. I think it's really hard though, like if we were to have a bit of empathy, right, for the
What
leaders.
is that?
For the leaders who are put in these positions, right? They sometimes it is exactly as you've described it. It is a target that we have to meet.
Yeah.
We are being told that we have to make these quick decisions. We obviously can't ask the people in the positions whether their job is necessary or not.
Right.
Right.
Although some people do that and then are disappointed with, well, they didn't justify their job. And I was like, I am walking the plank and you're trying to ask me, should I jump or should I stay? Like, I can't narrate my story in that type of condition.
Oh,
but
well, I know the famous, like, give me 3 lines about what you do for your job. Like when it comes down, right? Tell me, or as a leader, give me 3 lines on every person on your team.
Oh, right.
And you know what you're doing.
Yes.
You know what's about to happen.
Yes.
So you're trying to make their job sound as great as
Oh, yeah.
possible.
Yes.
While also having a bit of like, okay, like it's
Do
coming.
I have a role?
It's coming.
Yes.
Exactly. Exactly. And then the other part of this that I think also gets missed a lot is the decisions get made in the hierarchy.
Yes.
Right? So you send a tiny little one sentence about each person on your team and the relevance of their job or the importance of their job. It goes up about 3 levels in this hierarchical chain, and somebody is making a decision. And they're tough decisions.
They're
totally
very
get it.
tough decisions.
They're really hard. But at the end of the day, the work that you wrote down, so say 10 people get let go. the work of those 10 people still has to happen.
Doesn't go away.
Doesn't go
overnight.
away because they're not actually doing a transformation. They're just doing a layoff.
Do you know what happens then?
What?
We are going to pause all work until and that transformation's going swell.
Yeah,
Then we're
right.
going to pause all work till we figure out how to, align capabilities to steward. Why didn't you think about that?
Why didn't we do the transformation part of the transformation before we do the layoff? So that way, at the very least, there can be a real humane conversation about why we're doing this, why the roles aren't needed anymore, and where that work is actually going to go. Because at least in my experience, and I've worked with a lot of different organizations doing this, the aftermath just gets left to all of the individual contributors to figure it out. Right. So all of a sudden, the individual contributors who are still in the organization now have to figure out how to do 3 people's jobs. With not a lot of support in saying no to something.
And we already know that there's a microscope of if you falter on performance, we have now a reason to go leaner on the balance sheet.
Yeah. I mean, this is where I just think that everybody should be calling in AI. They're I have to do 3 people's jobs? Okay, cool. We're going to set AI up for 2 of them.
I want 2 agentic AI employees right now.
Exactly. I'm going to call a spade, and I'm just going to milk this for as long as I can. I don't know if that'll actually work or not, but how might we reframe this? Again, we talk a lot about how sometimes we can solve it, sometimes we can't, right? So layoffs are going to be part of our lives from here on out, as long as businesses are around. And in particular, as we go through these massive shifts of how people work,
of how we work,
it is not going to become less layoffs. It's going to become more. Similarly, to your point, transformation it is no longer going to be like a big transformation project that takes 4 years to implement. People need to move quicker, and change and transformation has to be a part of how we're working every single day. So we can put those 2 things to the side and say, we can't make transformation or layoffs stop.
Right.
So let's focus on the humane part of it all. How do we make these experiences feel more human and empathetic?
Well, so I'm going to say this, and it's a little bit of storytelling too, is I think we all have to think about how we market ourselves nonstop because
there's no certainty.
There's no certainty.
There's no
and
certainty.
People want certainty. I say, no way. You're not getting certainty anymore. And quite frankly, people don't want to be at companies for 20 years. If they want to be there, there's something wrong because, you know what I mean? They're the infrastructure. When I see people, I remember going into an organization and they're one time I was on an elevator and the average tenure of the people at this organization in the elevator was honestly, 19 and a half years. And I looked around and I thought, this is not good. This is not good. And also, this does not have there's not enough good career development for somebody to be here at this organization for 19 years.
It's so true.
It's really, really true. And so what I'm thinking is, if we're thinking about, how do we even approach this in a humane way, is be honest. Teach people how to market themselves inside of the organization, outside of the organization. Don't be selfish about your talent. If we are lying to ourselves, if we think, when I managed a team that was a bunch of rock stars, and I hoped that they were looking.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't want them to be there because I was, telling them you had no other options. I wanted them to be there because it was the right fit for them and they were getting what they needed.
Yes, exactly. I also think that there's a way to do it with humanity if, 1, you're honest, like you're saying, and 2, if there is a reality in helping people find new positions inside the company.
Yes, absolutely.
And outside of the company.
That takes thought and preparation and strategy.
Preparation. But even I think that there's a way to create programs that enable that, even if stuff has to happen quickly and urgently. And I've been part of organizations where they did that, where resources were hired, where people got access to support in their job searches, where they got coaches to help them with the next area of their career. It is possible. I would also say part of the humanity in it is being willing. So this is not only as a leader or as an organization making these decisions, but also as a person to person, colleague to colleague.
Yeah.
It's okay to get proximate to the pain.
Yes.
Every time when someone gets laid off, there's 2 type of people. Somebody gets laid off and there's the type of person who's
Get as far away from
And
it
they're
as
like, "I'm not
possible.
even good. If I don't talk about it, it's not happening. If I don't call them and like I'm not gonna I don't wanna make them feel worse by calling and asking them how they are, right? There's like
Asking them a human question.
yes.
How are you
How
doing?
are you doing? Like sit in that I don't wanna sit in that emotion with
Yeah.
them, right? And then there's the other side of people who are like, "You know what? I'm gonna like lean in and actually call this out and be there for them.
Right.
I'm not gonna solve it, and that's
No.
okay." Sometimes the person just needs a little bit of space to be held.
Yes.
And I think if for leaders in particular, right, who have to do the laying off, who have to have these conversations, a lot of the time, right? Let's be real, HR has crafted a script. There's I mean, as much as we have our own notes
I
for the podcast, I've been part of crafting those scripts. Like I know exactly
don't
what's
give me a script. That's the sign for me to go off the script.
exactly. Exactly. So a script has been written. So then as a leader, you feel bound by the script,
Yes.
right? You feel as though if you go off the script, you're going to have some kind of legal repercussion.
Right.
And all of a sudden, really legitimately, humanity goes out the door.
It does.
Because you're already afraid to have the conversation. It already feels scary.
Yeah.
You're already feeling badly, probably, because
Yeah.
who knows what the circumstance
Right.
is. And so I think there's also a way to find little pieces of humanity and empathy around the script.
Absolutely.
Like it's not lost on me that you got to stick to the script,
Yeah.
but how do you write the person a handwritten note to thank them for all the amazing work that they did?
Yeah.
How do you encourage your team to reach out to them like post layoff and make sure that they feel supported and heard? Encouraging those little pieces doesn't put you in any kind of negative legal territory,
No.
but it can certainly go a long way in supporting the person who has left.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last thing I'll say about it is that same empathy and vulnerability that you show and you model for your team to the people who have left
Yeah.
also helps your team feel
Yes.
less scared about the circumstances that they are now in as the survivor or the person who's left with the guilt.
Yes. I want to say this is I at the what I when we haven't really talked a lot about this, but one of the terms that I like to use a lot is microculture within cultures.
Mhm.
And I've actually, like you, I've gone through very humane transformations. I've also experienced, uh, somebody left their human at the door transformations.
Mhm.
But there have been pockets of leaders within those who have created a microculture as of what we're talking about.
Mhm.
So again, thinking about solutions and just talking about like how do we move forward? Don't be afraid to be a humane leader in the
Yes.
face of inhumane practice. That might save you and your team from a lot of suffering.
Yes.
And I think that that's really important because we talk about being brave, and that is brave.
Yes.
That is brave as being
Mhm.
okay. And I also think, you talked about even saying, how are you? Be a sounding board for your team. You've got somebody who
Mhm.
is
Mhm.
leaving the organization, might not have thought for a long time about where their strengths lie, where their
Mhm.
transferable skills lie.
Yes.
Sometimes when you're in it, like I
Yep.
don't sit there and say, I'm really good at this, this, and this. I mean, more lately as we've been going through this exercise,
Right.
but not always. And just to have somebody say, I've led you or I've managed you for the last, it could be a year. And here are the three things that stuck out to me.
Yes.
Do you want me to
Yes.
help you be able to articulate that? Like, there's
Yes.
just so many ways that we can support one another.
Mhm.
But I think it's just it's like people being so scared to get close to something that is painful and real.
Yeah, yeah, and messy. It feels messy. And I would say the same for the organizational leaders, right?
Yes.
There is a reason that they find themselves in a situation where the hard decisions have to be made
Yeah.
and they have to be made quickly. And then choosing a route, I think sometimes it feels easier in the moment
Yeah.
to look at everything like numbers.
Right. To
If
dehumanize
to
it.
dehumanize it. And
Yes.
that doesn't mean that they're bad people. And it
No.
doesn't mean that they're making bad business decisions. Either of those, all these truths can be held at the same time.
Mhm.
But it feels easier in the moment to take the humans out of it and put a bunch of numbers on pages and one line sentences about roles in order to make
Well,
these
that's the
really
org design 101.
exactly and make these really hard decisions. And great, let's have space for that.
Yes.
Do that. Do the business
It's a
decision
yes and.
in the business way. And
Mhm.
once those decisions have been made, get get somebody's support who can help you do
Mm-hmm.
the action of the layoff, the story of the
Yeah.
layoff in that more humane way,
Mm-hmm.
because it is possible, but it isn't everybody's talent. It
No.
isn't everyone's capacity or emotional awareness to do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So that's when I would say, like, find the person on your team who can do it that way
Yeah.
and get them to review your plan and give you
Yes.
some feedback. Or,
Lean into that. Lean
yes.
into that. I know, when I was part of an organization that got acquired, a lot of people were using this term business as usual. And I think about
Mhm.
this in transformations is there was nothing about business as usual. But you can anchor to a mission. It was mission as usual. We knew
Uh-huh.
that we
Mhm.
needed to do the best that we could to stay clear and to prioritize things for the patients. It was,
Yes.
in biotech at that point. And that mission as usual was the anchor. And then it also like instilled some sense of humanity in all of
Yes,
us
and
and
purpose.
purpose.
And
Yes.
purpose. It when it gets to this point, that's about making meaning out of the work.
Yes.
And if you can always anchor whatever decision you're making in an organization, it could be a layoff, it could be a
Hmm.
transformation, it could just be a new strategy or a new business model. If you can anchor it to the highest order of meaning
Yes.
that your work provides to the world,
Yep.
people can get on board with just about anything,
Yes.
even a layoff. Like, I can be a person in an organization who's like, you know what? I'm going to stick it out and do my best for these last 30 days.
Yeah.
If it's a layoff where I have 30 days to
Yeah.
continue making a contribution,
Right.
I will do it because I know my work matters.
Yes.
And then I'm going to take my severance and I'm going to go find another
Yeah.
job.
Yep. Yep.
But you have to keep anchoring. And this is where I think people get kind of stuck in the story and they sort of fall down, especially if it isn't rooted in a strategy. And even, if you don't have a well-articulated purpose or well-articulated
Right.
mission, it gets hard. But if you have those things, just anchor the story in the thing that is most meaningful. And that is it. You don't have to scramble to find a transformation.
No.
You don't have to try to like craft some new story to make it
No.
sound good or bold or
Right.
futuristic.
Yeah.
Just say, this is what's best for whoever your end customer is. And
So
people can get on
it's
board.
interesting that you're saying that because I was just thinking about like the flu. Like we don't say, I think we do kind of say like it's flu season now, but
Mhm.
it's old. We all know everybody's going to get the flu. Like
Yeah.
stop talking about transformation season. We all
Yes.
know it's happening. Let's
Yes.
like get past that and let's just talk about, okay, here's where we're going here. And I go back to clarity is kindness.
Yes.
Clarity is
Yes.
sometimes it is very hard to say what the clear truth and the path forward. But what we know is we pay more for inaction than we do action.
Yes.
So if you don't have all the answers, say you don't have all
Right.
the answers.
Right.
Do not just sit there.
Yeah.
And, we are humans at our core. People are not supposed to have all the answers. And so I think you
Yeah.
are right. You
Yeah.
said this transformation is messy. Say what you know and say what you don't know.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
going to also get on my soapbox a little bit too when
Mhm.
I heard
I love it.
recently.
We need to get an actual
I
soapbox.
know, a soapbox. We heard, I might fall off of it. I'm a little clumsy there. We also heard about an organization recently that did a transformation and let go of 100 people, and then 3 months later reposted jobs and was
yeah.
rehiring people
Mhm.
under the profile that they didn't even know that these had been their employees before.
Yes.
You
Yes.
have to get your shit together better. We
Yes.
can do better
We
as
can do-
organizations.
We can do better. I do think, though, with AI coming, we're going to see a lot of that pendulum swinging.
And this was before, yes, you are absolutely right. We are in a new and different time, and we can be patient with that a little bit more, but we still can get clearer.
We
on
can
what we're looking
absolutely get
for.
clearer. The other thing that brings up for me is the new fluidity of the way in which organizations work. I
Yeah.
think that we've grown so used to, both as employees and as employers, of building job descriptions, job architecture, and accepting roles and thinking that our role is going to stay the same forever.
Yep.
That all of a sudden I have stability by being part of a corporate organization.
Yeah.
And then similarly, I think that organizations are so rigid in what they're creating that they haven't allowed enough flexibility and fluidity in the way people can job transfer, in the mobility of talent across the organization. And so what's happening is everybody has sort of inadvertently and unintentionally grabbed on to like pillars that don't exist.
Yes.
Like they're like fake pillars that
I'm going to align myself to this. It's a sinking ship.
It's a shit. Exactly. They're just like holding on for dear life. Yes. Like it's like
but my JD says this.
Exactly. You told me my job was this. Why isn't my job this?
Yeah.
And then vice versa.
Right.
Right. The organization, because they put something in a particular, way of wording, they've kind of anchored themselves to this expectation that is no longer necessary for the org.
Yes.
And so along with all these big transformations with AI and the pendulum swinging of hiring and firing and et cetera, I think the more that employees can get fluid with how their skills are going to be transferable, and the faster and more nimbly you can get on board with the idea that your job is going to change.
Yes.
Period.
Yes.
Like
faster than you can imagine.
Faster than you can imagine. So get ready for and understand the skill set that you have and where are you going to go looking next, either within the organization or somewhere else.
Yeah.
But on the flip side of that, a lot more organizations are also moving to these skills-based talent models.
Yeah.
And I know we don't have to get like into the nitty-gritty of talent models and everything, but I think the more that organizations can start looking at that when they go into transformation or layoffs or org changes, the better off they're going to be in the end, because they won't have to do the pendulum swing so much.
Yes. And I want to say this too, back to, I always like to pose these questions to people, and the answers, they're like derp, but I say, when was the last time that we ever moved somebody too quickly into a role and had to retract? You do not have a good talent mobility strategy until you can say, we made a mistake on that one, but we supported them and we got them. But most organizations are like, oh, they have 9 of the capabilities checked and one, no, they're missing on this one.
Yeah.
This one is,
let's hold tight.
Yes.
Let's hold tight.
Let's give them another year and a half.
Uh-huh.
And
here's that carrot.
Yeah.
Come and get it.
We'll probably be transforming. So your role might not
by
be
the time
there.
you are ready for the promotion, we've changed your entire job.
But I do think we can be less rigid and we can think differently. And many times, going back to something that we talked about before, I would love to see an organization where a leader left who was a technical expert, and what that team really needed was an amazing leader. And they pulled and plucked somebody from the other part of the organization, interim, who was an outstanding leader, who knew nothing about the technical aspects of it. Because you can support technical aspects of like I will go down. I will go down on flames saying this. What you can't replace is leadership. So
100%.
like think different. And so maybe that's, as we're thinking about like, how do we reframe this, is what is the art of the possible in these situations? You want to be clear, and then you want to think different. Put your innovative hats on and think about, how do we do this different? Well, keeping a commitment to humanity.
Yes. And always anchoring back to the highest order of meaning in the work that you're doing, so that everybody can stay true to the mission.
Yes. One day we're going to talk about mission and how organizations can really anchor to a mission that makes sense, not on paper, but that's something in
reality.
These points where people really can rally around it. So, but I mean, this is a big topic. It's a meaty topic. I think we gave our listeners, food for thought on it. But we're going to have to peel the onion on this one. But I like what we're saying. Is be human. Like
be
really
human.
Don't be scared to ask, how are you doing?
Exactly. Don't be scared to make the call.
Yeah,
don't be scared to make the call. All right, so we would love to hear your complex layoff stories. So don't forget to find us on LinkedIn. We'll put our links in the show notes. And stay tuned for next time when we unpack a completely complex topic once again. See you soon.
Thank you.